Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another video. And in today's video, I'm gonna interview Andre Madarang, a freelance web developer. And Andre, thank you so much for being here with us today. So yeah, you want to just like start introducing yourself?
Sure. Thanks for having me. I've never done an interview before online, so this is a first for me. So yeah, my name is Andre. A full stack web developer from Toronto, Canada, and I primarily develop in a PHP framework called Laravel, but I do front end stuff as well, mostly in Vue.js because Vue and Laravel go hand in hand, sort of. But I also enjoy design and HTML, CSS, stuff like that. So anything web development, I've been doing it for a long time. So yeah, I am a freelancer. Let me go through the history of how I got into computers. It won't be too long, but so my dad bought me my first computer a long time ago. It was a 486 DX2 66 megahertz. I think it had 8 megs of RAM.
Wow.
And the reason I got into it was back then I was into games. I played Nintendo and stuff, but I was on Windows 3.1, but also you had to use DOS. And to install games, you had to like know your way around the command line. So I wanted to install games, so I had to learn about computers. So games like Doom, Wolfenstein, Heretic, there was a game, Descent. So my dad used to take me to these computer trade shows, and we'd have those like floppy disks with like 10 disks to install a game.
Wow,
so,
I remember.
My dad didn't know how to do that, so I had to learn myself. And I learned my way around the command line, and I had fun playing games, but I also started dabbling in programming. I think there was a programming language called BASIC, which was in DOS and had like a blue screen. And then after that, I started doing Visual Basic, which was like a drag and drop. And there wasn't too many programming courses when I was in high school, but I took whatever there was. And even the teacher was asking me how to do stuff because I already knew how to program. And naturally, I just took computer science in university. And that gave me the good theoretical background of just programming and theory. There wasn't too much practical stuff going on there. Maybe we'll get into that later, but I don't regret doing computer science. But I've always been interested in the web. Also, before the web, I used to go on BBS systems. Do you remember what BBS systems are?
No, not really.
So it's like you had a dial-up modem, and you would dial into a server, and it was all command line based. And you can like download games. It was like command line internet, but you had to dial into another server. So that was pre-internet, and then AOL disks came out, and then I just was blown away by all the information that was available on the internet. So naturally, I enjoyed the internet, took it in school. I did like HTML tutorials back when they were like fresh, like in Front Page and Dreamweaver. And then computer science, and then just learning everything I can. Like, again, the internet is such a great resource, and pretty much everything I know is
basically like I know that I didn't took a computer science degree myself, but I know that in computer science there is a lot of different paths that you can take to like network security or whatever. And so web development was the one that captivated you more.
Yeah, it was software engineering because the courses I enjoyed most were the ones that were programming related. So I just wanted to dive deep into that. There wasn't too many web development courses because this was like 2004, 2002, 2000. I don't even know. Early 2000s. There were one or two, but it definitely wasn't what it was today. I think there was like some PHP there because PHP is pretty old. Actually, it's like 20 years old.
Yeah.
But it's definitely, most of the stuff I know now is just through self-taught.
Right. So you got your degree, and once you finished, you started working as a web developer.
Yeah. So the longest job I was at, it was actually at the school I went to. It wasn't primarily a web developer position. It was more of a like IT. I managed like an online course platform. But I did use my skills to. I remember they had a registration system that didn't even work. I was like, "You're making people charge money, and it doesn't even work." Like they would put their credit card in, and it would like redirect to a blank screen. I'm like, really?
Right.
Anyway, so I made a registration system for them, and they started to realize what I can do, that I was actually a web developer. This was like 2009, 2010 maybe, after I graduated. And yeah, I just started to do stuff for them. But I got really comfortable in that position. I had like a huge office, and there were busy times, but when it wasn't busy, I would just either be doing web dev stuff or just screwing around. Um, but from then, I eventually left, and I just jumped from job to job, and these were web developer positions. And a lot of them, if not most of them, I was never satisfied because I felt like I was never utilized to my full potential. Mm-hmm. I made some good connections, but I never lasted more than maybe a year at most.
Right.
But all that time, actually, when I was on my first job, I started doing freelancing because I had nothing better to do.
Yeah.
And I just started to get a client base from there. And with freelancing, I realized that I was in control of what I wanted to do. There was no one telling me what to do. Client obviously had a project, but they let it. It was up to me to like decide what technology to use and how I would approach it. And that felt really good because they looked at me as the expert. Mm-hmm. So from there, I still have one client actually, which is my biggest client now. He had me develop a web app, which I did in a PHP framework called Code Igniter, which is pretty much dead now.
Yeah.
But that sort of got me on the path to freelancing, and from there it was just mostly word of mouth. I didn't really use those like freelancing sites that get you clients because I've heard so many horror stories from there.
Yeah. So basically, you were working on your full-time job,
yeah.
And on the side you were doing this kind of freelancing. And as you were saying that you were getting all these clients by word of mouth, you were just like sharing with your friends and family.
Yeah.
You're a web developer, and you were just like ready to take any job.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I couldn't take too much because I had a full-time job.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Maybe 2 max. And yeah, a lot of word of mouth too with people I knew in real life. I remember when I launched my website, I just put on Facebook, and that actually got me a few small like mom and pop landing page sites, which I primarily just did in WordPress because it was just a static website, and they were happy with the results. So.
And how were you feeling like when you were starting to freelance? Because one thing is when you are at your full-time job, your boss comes at you, okay, you can do this, and if you don't know something, you can just bounce ideas with your colleagues and everything. But when you are freelancing, you are a one-man band.
Yep.
You are by yourself, and you have to do everything. It's a lot of more responsibility. How did you feel about it? You were a bit nervous, or you were like, Andrew, I have to do this, and let's do this, or how was it for you?
For sure. With freelancing, you definitely have to learn more about just programming. You have to learn about accounting, how to manage clients, how to communicate with clients. And before, I was just strictly a programmer. I didn't know how to do any of that stuff. I didn't know anything about accounting. I didn't know anything about business. So I had to learn. And I guess the first thing I did was get an accountant, because all the advice I read online is if you're starting freelancing, just first thing you can do is get an accountant. You don't want to deal with all the books, especially when tax time comes. And just there's so many resources online on how to freelance, specifically how to like for web development, and just learned along the way. Communicating with clients is a big thing. Pricing for sure. How to charge clients. At first, I didn't really care because I already had I cared, but I didn't really put too much effort into thinking about how much I should charge. Even up to now, I still have.
Because you have your full
and
money.
Any money that comes in is great, right?
Yeah.
So I charged pretty low at first, and I was happy with that. I was also happy that I was getting experience working on like a pretty big web app on my own. But I mean, as you transition to becoming full-time freelancer, you really have to think about that, and you can't just compare that to a full-time job and say, okay, this is how much I charge on my full-time job, because there's so many other things you have to consider, like benefits and taxes and all that stuff. So yeah, it's definitely a learning process. I'm still learning now, even though I've been doing it a long time.
Exactly.
So yeah, I jumped from job to job. Eventually, I decided to quit my job. This was probably last summer.
So when was it the point? Was it the point that
Sure.
you were getting too many clients or too much work, or
Yep.
was it I'm just fed up, I don't want to do this anymore?
Yeah,
Or
like
when was the point that you decided, okay, this is the right point for me to just like get out of this 9 to 5 and just start freelancing full time?
sure. I think it was a combination of both. I didn't hate my job. I liked the people there. I just wasn't. I felt like it wasn't challenging me. So around probably this time last year, I started really thinking about it. I'm like, okay, my job is good, but again, I'm not being utilized to my full potential, and you were asking me to do things that I didn't want to do. So I looked at my current client base. I was already saying no to some people. I had one, which actually had a big project for me last year. I had to rewrite that first project I wrote in CodingNighter like 5 years ago. And at first I told them, okay, I can do it, but it's going to take me like a year because I'm just going to do it on the side.
Yeah.
But then come summertime, I'm like, I think I can just quit my job and do this project. This project will cover me in terms of expenses for at least 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided.
Did you also had like some money saved just like in case?
For sure.
Because
Yeah.
most of the people, they say that you should save at least like 1 or 2 years
Yeah.
of your expenses
For sure.
before like just jumping out.
Yeah. So anyone who's looking to get into freelancing, I wouldn't advise you to do that from the start. I think getting a full-time job is the responsible and safe way because you got bills to pay.
Yeah.
You have other responsibilities. And I know people that like just quit their job, cold turkey, did freelancing, and like a month later, they're like, oh, this is not for me. Of course it's not for you. You didn't put the time and effort to find clients when you still had a full-time job. So definitely make sure you're safe. You have some savings. I did have savings. I mean, I was paid okay, and I had the extra freelance money coming in. So I did have savings. Even if I had zero income coming in for like the next 6 months, I would have been okay. And the worst case scenario would be just to find another job. I mean, I have experience in the field already.
Yeah.
So be responsible when you're thinking about doing freelancing. It's definitely really hard. So I decided to do it in summer, and I had that project to work on, and I finished it much quicker because I had so much more time to work on it. And I realized I should have done it earlier because I just learned, within that 3 month span, I learned so much about just more about freelancing and more about programming in general.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was a good jump. And here I am today. I'm freelancing full time. And oh yeah, so I had more time. So I guess that's one of your other questions. How did I get into YouTube? So I've always been into learning from screencasts, watching video. I learned from the greats. There's one guy named Jeffrey Way who runs Lyricasts. I've been watching his screencasts for the longest time, and like all of my knowledge is like from him. Not all, but a lot. There's so many other people that are doing this thing, and I'm just heavily inspired by people like that. And I already had video experience. I used to do music, so audio and video is very important when you're doing screencasts. And I already had like this mic over here. I already knew how to edit video because videography was actually one of my hobbies before.
Wow.
So I just had to learn how to present topics. At first it was slow because standing on YouTube is pretty difficult.
Yeah, exactly.
But again, I learned about YouTube on YouTube, just how to do SEO and how to stand out and just be consistent, right? At first, I think I only posted like once a month, and it didn't get traction. But then I had some luck too, because one of the videos that started getting traction that I posted was about CSS Grid, which was a hot topic. It still is a hot topic, and that started to gain traction. And from that, comments started coming in saying, "Oh, I really like how you teach," and that motivated me to start being more consistent. So I started taking it more seriously. Maybe in the fall of last year, I tried to do at least once a week. All the YouTube people say, at least you have to be consistent and at least once a week. So I started being more consistent, and more comments started coming in, started motivating me more. And now I'm trying to do, I think the last few weeks I've been trying to do 3 a week, which is like so much time. It's like think I'm going to try to do 2 a
So
week for now.
do you started like this YouTube channel more just like as a hobby because since you are freelancing, you have a
Yep.
bit more of decision of your time what you can do with it, or is it more like to promote yourself? This is
Yep.
this is another question that I wanted to
Sure.
ask you is just like about you are a freelance web developer, right? So you need clients to come to you, not just by word of mouth, but from
Yep.
anywhere in the world, because you can
Sure.
work from remotely from anywhere.
Yep.
So how do you like promote yourself? Do you go like to Twitter, Google Plus, YouTube, for example? You started this just like to try to get some clients more, or
For sure. Yeah, my goal in mind is definitely to have this as a source of income eventually. Right now, I'm actually not monetizing my YouTube videos because I find that when you have my videos are actually quite long. They're like in between 20 to 40 minutes.
mm-hmm.
And I don't see ads because I have an ad blocker. But like sometimes when I watch on my phone, I know that maybe 2 or 3 ads play like in the middle of your video if you have no ad blocker. And that's kind of annoying when you're trying to learn something.
Yeah.
So I decided to turn that off just so I don't annoy my users. And eventually my plan is to pitch courses to my audience.
Mm-hmm.
And if they have a good experience watching my YouTube videos, then they'll probably buy.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually watched your video. Okay, part of the reason I never monetized too because it wasn't a lot of money at first because you're not getting too many views. But I actually watched your video. I didn't know the CPM was actually higher for our types of channels.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at my views now. It's like 80 or 90,000. And if you do, you said $4 per milli.
Yeah.
So
my channel gets around, let's say like 4 or 5.
So I never knew that. I thought, I mean, the standard is like 1. I knew ours was higher because we're providing education, but I mean, like 80,000 times 4, it's $320. I mean, it's not.
Yeah.
But like that can go towards like a new mic or some video production that can go into towards YouTube. And I'm really starting to think if I should turn it on. Not yet, but your video got my eyes open towards maybe turning it on. Yep.
Yeah. So okay, we were just like talking about these. How do you promote yourself? So we got this one covered, and what else do we have in here? So we got this one. What's your?
I think you wanted to ask me about.
Yeah, another one that I wanted to ask you is. We were talking about before we started recording this video about like how you got inspired by this guy Larry Cast and something.
Yep.
They were releasing a book, for example, and it was selling. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about this.
Sure.
And about like if you have like any strategy of multiple incomes, or if you are just like focusing entirely on your freelance services.
Yeah, like I said, I'd eventually like to make premium courses where I'm charging an amount for a course. But for now, I'm just trying to build an audience and trying providing free value at first.
You can give the examples of these guys that we were talking about.
Yeah, sure. So Jeffrey Way of Lyricasts, I've been following him for the longest time. And he's just super practical in how he teaches and he presents topics very clearly. He has most of the Laravel community. Pretty much everyone in the Laravel community knows him, and it's probably a member of Lyricasts. And I think at first, everyone was just blogging about web development topics, which is still a viable option to teach. But a lot of people are drawn into video. And I think he was one of the first, or at least one of the first people I saw, especially in what specifically I was doing, PHP. And I just really enjoyed his content. And he's gained a huge audience from just the way he teaches. And there are other people as well. Everyone probably knows Wes Boss. He is an amazing teacher, mostly in React and front-end stuff. I've learned a lot from him as well. There's other people in the community, and some of them don't really share their income. But if you do the math, like Wes, actually, if you look at his courses, he'll list how many people took the course, and if you just do the math, you'll see how much revenues he's generating. And even on courses like platforms like Udemy, you can see how many people took the course, multiply that by.
Yeah.
And it's not about, I'm not, yeah, money is a factor, but everyone who teaches seems like they're happy doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
You're also helping other people. Like the comments that come in saying, you're changing my life, you're helping me learn, you helped me get this job.
Exactly.
It's just super motivating, and something I felt like when I was working a job, I never felt like I was valued in that way.
This kind of fulfillment, because we are doing
exactly.
something that we love and we are helping other people at the same time. So yeah, definitely this is the way to go.
Yep.
So I wanted to ask you another thing about freelancing. Is you have been freelancing for how long now? 5 years?
Yeah, maybe 5 or 6 years. I mean, most of that was on the side. Yeah.
Are there like any mistakes that you made in the past? You know, because we all make mistakes, especially when we are starting out in something new. Are there like any mistakes that you made from before, that if you were starting now from the scratch all over, and that you wouldn't commit again, so you could just like advise people who are starting out?
Yeah, sure. Probably my biggest mistake is charging too low. When you're first freelancing, you think that you're competing on price. And if you join like these freelancing services like freelancer.com, then you are competing on price. Mm-hmm. But if you I find that if you charge higher, you get higher quality clients. And yeah, definitely think about your pricing strategy when you come to freelancing, especially in web development, because there are clients out there willing to pay good money for your services if you know what you're doing and if you can demonstrate your skills and like past projects, stuff like that. I mean, if you compare that to like, usually you'd have to freelance on your own, but most of the times it is. And if you compare what you're paying to this one person compared to if you went to an agency, like an agency would charge you like close to millions of dollars for a web app that if you have enough experience, or if you partner with like a designer or maybe a few other developers, maybe one other developer, if you want to like separate the back end and the front end, then that would still be much cheaper than like going to an agency. So business owners, if they're smart enough, they would go for freelancers and not go to a big agency if the app is like small enough.
Yeah. So what do you think is like the best way, like you were talking about some projects, what do you think is like the best way for you to demonstrate, imagine for a potential client that wants to hire you, to show that, okay, I'm the right guy for you, I have the right skills? What's like the best way that you can tell them?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of showing your work. Mm-hmm. You have to have a good portfolio, and you have to be able to demonstrate that you can provide value for your client. Definitely if you can like just show them past projects, like I built that one app I was talking about, and for future clients I always show that app because it did a lot of things, and I related it to the project that they wanted to work on. So a portfolio, your own website for sure. And even recently, since I started YouTube, a lot of people have been asking if I have time to work on a project. Mm-hmm. Because I'm out there showing my knowledge, and they can see that other people are getting value from this. So I probably have skills in that regard. So yeah, definitely put your work out there.
Do you specialize in any kind of special website? For example, do you just specialize on content managed systems or forums or whatever, or do you specialize, for example, for e-commerce website? Do you have any kind of niche that you follow, or you try to take a little bit more of a global?
Sure. At first, most of my freelance work was just typical mom and pop shops. They wanted basic CMS. So what I did was I just used WordPress, and I would just get a nice theme from like Theme Forest. And there's a lot of value in, you don't even have to be a programmer. If you just learn WordPress, learn how to install themes, learn how to put content in there, learn how to communicate with your client. If you could do that, like you don't even have to know, okay, you might have to know the basics of HTML and CSS because you might want to customize like the colors and stuff. But a lot of the themes is just clicking around in WordPress and changing the brand to make it look like their brand. Mm-hmm. And if you can do that, you can make a good amount of money just learning WordPress. So a lot of my clients at first was that. but I preferred actually programming because I'm a programmer. So I started to move towards custom web applications. I still do, maybe I'll still do the occasional WordPress site, but I'm trying to move away from that now. So yeah, custom web applications is what I'm focusing on now.
So you build like kind of content managed systems by yourself from scratch. That's what you mean.
Yeah, like usually systems where there's a login and that login has certain data associated with it. And I primarily use Laravel. I mean, not primarily. I only use Laravel because I think it just makes so many things easier. I know a lot of people these days are doing the whole single page app architecture. I find that a lot of people like coming out of boot camps or people who are sort of getting into it, they would build an app that way, which is totally fine. I'm not saying it's the wrong way. I feel like the old school developers, people like myself, they're more still in the server side, doing multi-page applications and just sprinkling in like maybe a front end framework like Vue or React into different pages. And that's the way I do it because that's the way I'm fastest in doing it. If someone else is faster building a single page app, then go ahead and do that. And there's advantages and disadvantages to both cases. But for me, I would definitely use Laravel because it'll help me build an app in the shortest amount of time.
So yeah, this was one of the questions that I kind of missed. So you like to use more Laravel and Vue.js because you just feel more comfortable with them, or?
Yeah, it's just a matter of comfort. I'm sure the other frameworks can do the same thing. They can do it, and I've just been immersed in this community. Like I said, I've learned so much from Jeffrey Way from Laracasts that I wouldn't use anything else. If a client would come to me and say, "Can you build this in Node and React?" I'd say, "No, I can't. Sorry, find someone else," because I can't do it. Like, I can learn about it, but I don't want to because I already have a stack that I can be proficient in and do everything you want in that particular stack.
Exactly. So cool. So we are just getting to an end now in our interview, and I just have two more questions. Basically, is just like one of them is first of all your personal goals for this year, and the goals for your channel for this year.
Sure. I'll start with my channel because that feeds into my personal goals. I'd like to explore more different types of content. Right now I'm doing strictly programming, strictly Laravel. So in terms of programming, I want to do more front-end Vue.js stuff, maybe some more CSS stuff. Actually, I take a lot of advice from my comments. Some of my videos have been just from people who are asking the same thing over and over.
Yeah.
But not only programming concepts, I want to explore like what you're doing, like more advice-related content where I just talk to a camera. I'm still not comfortable talking to a camera. If you saw my 1,000 subs video, it was like a 2-minute video, but it took me like 2 hours to do because I'm not comfortable talking to a camera. I'm getting there.
Yeah.
But yeah, advice type content. Maybe more, I'm not sure if I'll do this, but maybe more vlog style. I'm sure you see, but a lot of those day in the life of a software developer, day in the life of a YouTube engineer, those are getting like a lot of views and more than like the tutorial type channels. So maybe I'll explore that. But the core of my channel is still going to be programming.
Because the thing is, although it's always nice to have this kind of tutorials and something, it's much easier for people to just like watch a
5-minute video.
They don't have to think.
Yeah.
Watch like a tutorial that you have to really stop by.
Yeah, for sure.
That's why.
And it shows like more of the human aspect behind programming and not just code all day long, right? But primarily my YouTube channel is going to be mostly tutorials, which leads into my personal goals. I'd like to eventually have a premium course, which I sell to my audience, and definitely make that a source of income. Maybe not this year, but eventually maybe make that my main source of income. But in the meantime, continue to freelance and for clients and continue to build web apps and just continue to learn about whatever's new in this industry because, as you know, it moves so quickly.
Cool. Okay, so just one really final question is just any tips or anything that you want to tell for people who want to start freelancing? Yeah, any advice that you want to just tell them?
Sure. For freelancing or for like getting into web development?
Just for freelancing, they want to start
Sure.
freelancing, and what kind of advice would you tell them?
Yeah, definitely don't go into, if you can get a job, a standard job, I would advise that you do that first, because you'll get experience on just how to work with teams. Actually, if you're freelancing, you might be working on your own, but just getting experience in web development in a professional environment would be good. But if you have time on the side, that's when I would explore freelancing. And from then you can see if you like it or not, and if you can get clients, and you'd be safe because that wouldn't be your primary source of income. But just start on the side and slowly build up your client base from there. Definitely build up a portfolio, put stuff on GitHub, put stuff on CodePen. If you want, start a YouTube channel. YouTube is great.
Yeah.
And just instead of you looking for clients, bring clients to you instead. So
yeah.
And from there, there's so many resources online, free resources if you can't afford it. If you can afford a few dollars a month, there's so many great services. Figure out how you like to learn. Figure out what type of people you
if you have like any kind of these services that you want to recommend or say, just let me know. I'll put it down. Or
sure. I mean, there's so many. You just gotta find what you gravitate towards. I don't know too many of the beginner ones. I mean, I've heard of them because when they came out, I wasn't a beginner anymore, like TREEHOUSE and Code Academy. But just go on YouTube. There's so much free stuff. And follow people on Twitter. Also outside of programming, I'm getting into like entrepreneurship as well. So people like Gary Vee. Do you know Gary Vee?
Oh yeah, I know.
Gary Vee, Tim Ferriss, people who just offer motivational advice and keep you on track. Because, like, okay, so now in a lot of my family are like, don't understand what I'm doing. They're like, why are you doing YouTube? Why did you quit your job? You were making good money. And they don't see that this is the future. They don't see that if you follow your passion, they don't realize that this is where people's eyes and their attention are. They're no longer on like TV.
Yeah.
And Gary Vee always preaches these types of platforms and how you can actually make more money doing what you love than working a standard 9-to-5 job. Exactly. So yeah, follow people like that too. Listen to podcasts. I got into audiobooks recently. I'm always listening to podcasts or audiobooks. So just immerse yourself and keep learning because there's always something new to learn.
Cool. I think those are really great tips. I also follow this guy, Gary Vee. He's just amazing and he's so motivational all the time. He's just saying like, document your journey. Don't be afraid, just go for it. And we are just getting to an end now, and I just want to thank you so much, Andre, for this interview. I believe that there is a golden content in here, for everyone out there that they are getting started into web development or in freelancing as well. And it was really nice to hear your story, how did it all started for you and all your path to become a freelance web developer. So thank you so much, Andre, for being in here on the channel. I'm going to put the link to your channel down below. So all of you guys just go and subscribe to Andre. He has a lot of good content in there. I'm also checking his videos on Laravel. He's building some nice web app on e-commerce with Laravel. So go check it out. I'm doing it myself because I'm learning it as well. And Andrew, thank you so much for being here, and I'll catch you up next time.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a lot of fun.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.